Like you see how like me and him was talking, and then somebody else talked like in his crew.
Mhm.
That's what get me up. Like that's what.
The rivalry between Gervonta Tank Davis and Lamont Roach Jr. is heating up, and it's shaping up to be one of the most intense showdowns of the year. These two fighters have been circling each other for a while now, and the drama surrounding this fight has reached new heights. Tank Davis is an undeniable powerhouse in the lightweight division, while Lamont Roach, though talented, is facing the biggest challenge of his career. Both men are confident in their abilities, but the question remains, who will come out on top when they finally face off in the ring? This fight isn't just about who's the best in the lightweight division, it's about legacy, pride, and proving who truly deserves the spotlight. It all started at the press conference when the tension between Tank and Roach was palpable. There was no doubt that both fighters were ready to explode, and they didn't waste any time getting into each other's faces. Tank looked Roach in the eye and made it crystal clear, "I'm knocking you out quick." But Roach wasn't intimidated, not in the slightest. Instead, he took a step closer to Tank, showing that he wasn't backing down. It wasn't just about throwing jabs with words, it was about something deeper: respect, pride, and a willingness to show that he wasn't afraid of Tank. And then, Tank shoved Roach, pushing him back, making it clear that he wasn't interested in any fake tough guy acts. The crowd was electrified, and it was clear that this fight was no longer just about skill, it was personal. Despite the heated press conference, Lamont Roach remained confident. He knew that moving up to 135 pounds for the fight wouldn't be an issue for him. The weight cut wasn't a problem for Roach, and he claimed it would make him feel more comfortable. However, comfort and confidence don't always translate to success when you're stepping into a division where Tank Davis has already proven himself as the dominant force. Tank has been at 135 pounds for years, and his power at this weight is legendary. Roach might feel comfortable, but Tank has proven time and time again that he's a different beast in the ring. Roach is on a 6-fight win streak, and his training under his father has prepared him for the biggest fight of his career, but he's never faced a puncher like Tank Davis. It's one thing to train and build up confidence, but it's another thing entirely to go up against a fighter with Tank's knockout power. The question on everyone's mind is whether Roach can withstand Tank's pressure. Tank Davis is a force to be reckoned with, and his reputation at 135 pounds speaks for itself. He's knocked out some of the toughest fighters in the division and has left a trail of victims in his wake. Roach may be stepping into the lightweight division with no weight cut stress, but Tank has already made it his home. The concern for many hardcore boxing fans is whether Roach has the power to keep Tank at bay, especially since Roach hasn't been known for his knockout ability. Tank's punching power at lightweight is terrifying, and without the ability to land something that can hurt him, Roach might find himself in survival mode before long. Tank has already proven that his punching power is his trump card, and Roach might find himself on the receiving end of that power sooner than he thinks. Roach has repeatedly pointed to their amateur history as proof that he belongs at the top. He's even gone as far as to say that their amateur days prove that he has what it takes to challenge Tank. While it's true that both fighters had impressive amateur careers, the reality is that their careers have evolved in very different ways. Tank Davis isn't the same fighter he was back in those amateur days. He's grown into a world-class knockout artist who has dominated the lightweight division. Roach may have been competitive in their past matchups, but how much does that really matter when both fighters have evolved? Tank is a far more dangerous fighter now, and his progression as a boxer is a key factor in why he's become so feared in the ring. Confidence is something that Roach has in spades. He's walking into this fight with a belief that he has the ring IQ and tenacity to outclass Tank. He's convinced that his skills are levels above anyone else Tank has faced. But Tank has heard it all before. He's faced opponents who came in with the same level of confidence, believing that they had something special. But once Tank figures out their rhythm, once he lands those devastating shots, it all falls apart. Tank has broken down fighters with speed, power, and a relentless work ethic. They might start strong, but Tank finds a way to finish them. Roach might be convinced that he has the answer to Tank's power, but that remains to be seen. Can Roach really stand up to Tank's intensity for 12 rounds, or will he fall like the others who have underestimated Tank's ability to break them down? For Roach, his only hope might be to frustrate Tank early on with his movement and ring IQ. If he can make it difficult for Tank to land clean shots in the first few rounds, perhaps he can gain an edge. But Tank is no stranger to adversity, and his ability to adapt mid-fight is one of his greatest strengths. It's one thing to move around and frustrate Tank for a few rounds, but eventually Tank will figure it out. Once he finds his rhythm, Roach could find himself overwhelmed by Tank's pressure. The reality is that Tank's power is his greatest asset, and if he touches Roach with those bombs, it's only a matter of time before the fight ends. Roach can talk about his skills and how he's evolved, but nothing will change the fact that Tank's punches are something entirely different. What's also interesting in this fight is the DC versus Baltimore rivalry. Roach is fighting for his hometown pride, for the people who have supported him throughout his career. He's coming into this fight with something to prove, not just to the boxing world, but to his fans. This fight means more to him than just a title. It's about validation. Roach believes that he's worked hard to get to this point, and that he deserves a shot at Tank. But for Tank, this fight is about proving that he's the best in the world. Tank isn't interested in regional bragging rights. He's not here to represent Baltimore against DC. He's here to dominate the lightweight division and build his legacy. It's this difference in mentality that could ultimately make the difference in the fight. Roach's hometown pride is important, but Tank's laser focus on becoming the best in the world is a level above. Roach's confidence might be his strongest weapon, but Tank's experience and mentality could prove to be insurmountable. This fight is about more than just skills. It's about who can handle the pressure and who can rise to the occasion. Tank's ability to break down his opponents over time, to remain calm under pressure, and to land devastating punches could be what seals the deal in this fight. Tank's knockout power is the thing that separates him from other fighters in the division. Roach might be skilled and have the ability to frustrate Tank early, but once Tank lands those heavy shots, it's a whole different ballgame. Roach has never faced a fighter with Tank's punching power, and that's what makes this fight so interesting. The question isn't whether Roach has the skills to make it competitive, it's whether he can survive once Tank starts pressing forward. If Roach can't make Tank respect his power, he'll be forced into survival mode, trying to make it to the final bell without getting knocked out. But the stakes aren't just about this fight. There's also the looming shadow of Terrence Crawford, who has been publicly criticizing Tank's chances against him. Crawford believes Tank's undefeated record is a result of facing fighters who aren't mentally strong enough to last the full 12 rounds. He's already been in the trenches, facing top-tier competition, and he believes Tank hasn't been truly tested. For Tank, this means there's more to prove than just defeating Roach. He has a target on his back from one of the sport's biggest names. Tank's next move could be the key to whether or not he proves his critics wrong. Then there's the issue of money. Tank has made it clear that he's not just in this for the titles, he's in it for the paydays too. He's openly talked about fighting in Saudi Arabia, demanding luxury cars and big money before even considering a deal. It's clear that Tank sees the financial side of the sport as just as important as the legacy side. Some might criticize him for this approach, but the reality is that in today's boxing world, money talks. If Tank wants to secure the biggest paydays, he's going to need to make his demands known. Whether or not he gets what he's asking for remains to be seen, but one thing is clear, Tank knows his worth. The situation with Saudi Arabia highlights the changing dynamics in boxing. Fighters are no longer just concerned with legacy, they're also looking for the biggest paydays possible. Tank's willingness to negotiate for a massive payday in Saudi Arabia is a reflection of this shift. He wants to be treated like the star he is, and if the money is there, he's ready to take the fight. However, this could create a dilemma for Tank. He's playing hardball with his demands, but the risk is that it might alienate some of the boxing community. His reputation could be on the line, especially if his demands aren't met. In the end, Tank Davis has control of his own destiny. Whether he takes on Roach, Crawford, or even Shocker Stevenson, the spotlight is firmly on him. The world is watching to see if he can live up to the hype and silence his critics once and for all. His fight with Lamont Roach is just the beginning. Tank has the chance to prove that he's the real deal, but he also has to back up his words. If he steamrolls Roach, the pressure will mount for him to take on the bigger challenges in the division. The legacy fights that fans have been clamoring for against Crawford, Shocker, and other top contenders are on the horizon. The question is, will Tank rise to the occasion or continue to chase the biggest paydays, leaving fans to wonder what could have been? What do you think? Will Roach be the one to break Tank's unbeaten streak? Or is Tank simply too much for him? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this epic rivalry.